Hi Life Ninjas, and welcome to another Ninja Nunchucks, this time focusing on students and bad grades. Indeed, it's actually not about students as such or bad grades, but about the conditioning and glass ceilings and the glass boxes that we all find ourselves in within society, and what we can do about them, about developing free thinking, about generating and creating our individual thought that is not conditioned by social glass boxes and social conditioning. So I want to go back over the education system, because that's really how this has all come about. And let's go back to start off with into the ancient civilizations. Ancient civilizations started developing an education system, a level of schooling, again only for the wealthy, for the better well-off people in their villages and societies that got any level of education. And they started doing this for the creation and development of civic life, of cultural and social values. And this is where the problem started, by generating and creating these social values, which we take on today without having given our consent to join these social systems and social restrictions and the social values that our nationalities and humanity is imposing upon us. Now, let's not get too far down the road and say that they're all wrong. That's not the case. There is incredible benefit in them. But let's bring back choice and freedom of choice. So when we step forward into the Middle Ages, the education system now has been driven by the church. The church needed educated individuals that could read and could write and transcribe in order to copy the church's doctrine down onto paper or papyrus or whatever form vellum that they had initially. But the fact is that they needed to educate certain individuals to give them the capability of doing this transcription. And that was driven by economic needs. Economics and profit enters in the education system here. And from here on in, it drives the education system right up until the present day. If we step into the 19th century, then we've got the development of a national identity. We've started creating a national identity, an idea of who we are nationally, and we've been progressing this idea of who we are ever since. We've introduced military conscription, and military conscription needed educated individuals to join the army, especially at the officer level, so that they could pass on the instructions of the military forces, so that their instructions and commands are carried out accurately. And again, at this point, we needed to develop the economic and the social needs. Social needs develop alongside the economic driving of education, because the understanding of the more complex societies as they develop and the more complex needs of the economy and profit generating systems needs greater stability within the social structures. Otherwise, they just can't work if it's too chaotic. If we step through into the 20th century and the era of Henry Ford and his English school, he needed this school to educate the European immigrants that were coming to work in his factories, so that they could carry out the instructions to precision within the timescales that he needed. And at one point, he was getting a turnover of 87%. Because they just weren't capable of following the instructions. So he set up the English school to educate them to do that. When we look at this, education therefore is created as a workforce preparation system. And it still is that today. And this is the gripe that I have about education. I've worked in education most of my life, So I know the inside of the education system, and I know the problems and the focuses that are happening in there. It's changing slightly today, but again, the exam systems are focused on churning out individuals into an economic system. So what is today? Today is more of a knowledge-based economy. We're actually selling the knowledge now rather than the physical and mental capabilities. And again, it's profit driven. The more students we can churn through the education system, the more profit the educational bodies, universities, schools can make. The greater the GDPR that I've talked about in a previous Nunchuk session. And we've got to get away from this. We've got to start looking at an education system that prepares us for the next civilization, for the next developmental level of humanity. And that's what life ninjery and becoming a life ninja and learning to think outside these glass boxes and these glass ceilings and stepping outside of a rigid education system is all about. Let's focus on learning the skills necessary to develop us as individuals so that humanity benefits from our intellectual, mental capabilities, our skills, our psychophysical skills that we have, that we can use to create and increase society. But the problem is we need a focus. If we don't know where we're heading, how can we say what skills we need to develop? That's where the Life Ninja program comes in. It sets that vision for the future. It sets the goals that we need to focus and work towards in order to produce civilizations that is going to rise us up to the next level of understanding, to the connection with higher and expanding consciousness, to a great soul level, so that the things that we do harmonize with the planet, harmonize with us individuals on the planet, help us to collaborate effectively and create a system that is beneficial for every single being that exists here, not for a certain small number of elite, high profit making individuals. So that is this focus on students and bad grades, because the students with the bad grades are the ones that are not being churned through the education system. That's not to say that the students with the good grades cannot break that restriction. They can, and I encourage you to do so. I encourage you to think and learn outside the education system, to understand what the education system is doing for us or for the economy, and to start looking at what we can do for humanity instead, rather than just for generating profit. There was a story that I came across in my early personal development days many decades ago. It was either from Zig Ziglar or Dale Carnegie, I forget which one now, but they were talking about the process of training fleas for a flea circus. How do you train a flea? Well, what you do for fleas is you put them inside a glass box with a glass lid. And as the fleas leap about, as fleas tend to do, they start bouncing off this glass box and the glass lid that they cannot see and not aware of. But over time, they become used to the restrictions and the space that they can leap about in. And what they do is they reduce their capabilities so that they're not hitting the glass box. And at that point, the glass box and the glass ceiling can be taken away, and those fleas are still limited, restricted to that space, even though the boundaries no longer exist. And that's where we are in humanity and society today. We're restricted into an economic, profit-based, capitalistic system that is restricting us when there is so much opportunity available outside there. And there aren't even any restrictions that are preventing us from going and achieving these things apart from what we think there are. So I encourage you to come and join me You can get hold of me at www.newlife.ninja. Find me on the socials. There'll be comments around here somewhere. You can add comments, get in touch with me. You can email me at coach@newlife.ninja. Subscribe to these if you want more information about becoming a life ninja and the things that we can do to improve the systems that we've got, improve humanity and create the next civilization. I'm Dave Harper. I'm your coach at New Life Ninja, and I'll catch you next time. Bye for now.